New Toyota Tacoma quality problems. I have a few issues. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Robmotive. And I've had this truck for a while now. It's my new Toyota Tacoma. It's a 2021. And I have noticed a few quality problems. So I thought we'd take a look around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And first of all, we're going to take a look at fit and finish on the rear. You know, one of these is pretty darn common. Everybody mentions it, and that is the slant, I'll call it, of the rear bumper. It's not even on the sides. If you take a look over here, the gapping over here, and pay attention to where the bumper meets this little inner part, it's not even. There's a bigger gap on this side than there is on this side. And you can tell by looking here, it's almost dead even with this piece, whereas over here, it's not. And I notice these do move a little bit, but not enough, I don't think, to account for that gap difference. So that means the bumper kind of slants a little bit to the right. And you can kind of see it too if you pay attention here where the top of the bumper is as compared to this piece behind, and same thing over here where the top of the bumper is compared to this piece behind. So just a broader shot, you can kind of see it's a little bit off. Kind of a picky thing. It's not a huge difference, but nonetheless, it is different. Now, looking at the tailgate itself, and this is kind of an alignment issue, I think. If we look at the gapping down the side here, pay attention to this area, you can see it's more narrow than over here than it is over here. We have a wider gap. I mean, it can almost fit the end of my pinky in that side, and then over here, not at all. So it is a little bit different there as well. Again, not a big deal, but still not the typical Toyota quality when it comes to fit and finish on a vehicle. Now, next up, let's take a look in the back. I discovered this shortly after I had the truck because, you know, I was nosing around in the truck, putting the seats down and stuff, checking out the storage, seeing if the pull handle was there, which of course it was not. That's my own creation. But anyway, when you put the seat up and then put the rear seat down, you can see here that there is some kind of white, I don't know if this is glue, I don't know what it is, but kind of splattered here on the back of the seat. Also, we have some here, we have some here, we have some here, and a little bit over here as well. So I don't know if whoever it was that was kind of gluing things together in here just kind of slopped glue all over the place, but they just left it. They obviously knew it was there. I mean, it's a glaring thing when you open the truck. It just looks like something was slopped on here, and then instead of cleaning it, they just kind of turned their head and left it sit. Now also, there's a little bit, I believe, underneath my holder that I put on. By the way, I installed this. There's a video on the channel as to how I did it. But I think there's a little bit underneath here as well. So I don't know what they were doing, if they just had some sort of a caulking gun and just went nuts and started caulking everywhere, or maybe they had it on their sleeve or their hand, touched these parts of the truck. My guess is that's what it was. It was kind of on their clothing or something, and then got it on the truck. I don't know. But not really very good when it comes to quality. There shouldn't be anything like that. They should have cleaned it off. Next up, let's take a look at the window here. Now, it's accentuated a little bit because of the vent that I have in here. But you notice this bulges out. And honestly, it bulged out before I did anything. Very loose as far as this window trim goes, and you can see the little gap that sticks out here. Not good. It just doesn't fit quite right. And I'll give you an example. We'll take a look at my wife's Jeep for comparison. And that's right, this is where Jeep is actually better. This is how it's supposed to lay in there. Nice and flat. Doesn't look like that on the Tacoma. It bulges out right here in the corner like it doesn't fit quite right. Again, it's accentuated by the vent visor that I put in, but there was a bulge here to begin with. Next up, let's move on to the front of the truck because I have some issues up there as well. Let's take a look at the front of the truck, and this is a little more severe. I was actually very disappointed when I discovered this. I'm talking about the body panels in this case, up here on the front of the truck. And we're going to start right over here on this little seam or edge where everything meets up. Notice how nice and tight that is. Looks really good, looks like everything meshes up well. They did a really good job over here. But when we go over to the other side, look at how big this is. Look at that. Look at the size of that gap. It's almost like the front end is not pushed up far enough or something. And honestly, I got to keep my eye on that to make sure that something isn't broken or loose in there and that this actually isn't coming forward. This is huge to me as compared to the other side. Now, another thing I wanted to mention, and I noticed this early on, is this little front piece that runs across here. It's not tight. Look at the gap over here, and it moves. You can see how that kind of flexes back and forth a bit. You can even see some of the holder in there. I don't know if camera will pick it up, but you can even see a little bit of the spot that holds it on, I believe. Now, if we check over here, it's not perfect, but it's much better. A little bit of gappage there, you can see it move. And I don't really have a problem with panels moving, but in this case, it just looks like this is not secured on here properly. And I've pushed on it and stuff, and there's no way that it's gonna grab any better. Now, I'm not gonna mention anything about the grill area because of course I changed the grills, so if anything was loosened up or off there, that's really me. And I'm talking about like this seam right here, or maybe right along here, something like that, as compared to over here. But actually, it's pretty darn consistent. So no issues there, and that's me replacing the front grill. Now, if we look down the hood, I'm always curious about how the hood fits. You can see the gappage, yeah, my word, right there, the gappage between the hood and the side of the truck or the fender area as compared to over here. And while it is slightly different, I think, and I mean slightly, if you look on up there as compared to over here, you can see the driver's side is a little bit closer, but honestly, it's pretty darn close. No big issues over there as far as I'm concerned. Even looking up here at the top, it's pretty darn close. And then looking over here at the top, again, it is a little bit wider, but it's not hugely off. One other area I want to check is this pillar area. You can see the gappage right here, which is pretty extreme, I think. That's a pretty good sized gap. Let's take a look at the passenger side, and it's maybe a little bit more. It's not horribly off, but again, a little bit more. So I think the fit and finish is a bit off. Now there is one more thing I want to mention, and I don't know if this was the fault of the factory or the fault of the people that did the lift on this truck, the different shocks, and that is the brake caliper. I had made a video about the bolts on the brake caliper on the passenger side not being tight. The caliper was bouncing around and making noise. That's how I discovered it. And fortunately for me, I just happened to notice that those bolts were backed out a little bit, and I tightened them down myself. But that's another possible area where the quality at Toyota has slipped a little bit on the Tacoma. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about those things a little bit. Everybody is always talking about how great the quality is at Toyota. I don't know. I don't know if it's slipping, if it's always been this way. I know the rear bumper problem has always been an issue. People always complain about the gapping back there or the bumper being off a little bit. But I don't know. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Have you bought a new Tacoma recently? And if you noticed anything, any of these little fit and finish issues, I'd be curious to know. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Robmotive FST, all about full-size trucks. And Robmotive JT, all about my 2020 Jeep Gladiator. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Don't forget to click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And do me a favor, smash that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.